Well, still staying in Nigeria, not a very good news as we see that the EFCC chairman has said about 70% of financial crimes that go on in the country has been linked to the banks. He disclosed that this significant portion has been traced to the banks. He did not share proof, but we want to delve into this and some other issues around this to see how this could be working. The chairman of EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, highlighted the growing prevalence of fraudulent activities within the banking industry, which presents substantial challenges and concerns for the Commission and obviously for investors' sentiments also concerning the country. Well, let's delve into this. And well, the man you saw earlier is Professor Olabisi Akingbugbe, is a co-convener of African Sovereign Debt Justice Network. He's also an associate professor of Sheikh School of Law from Dalhousie University. Normally we'll have this conversation. I think this is the first time we're doing physical.
Indeed.
It's been a while you came to the country.
It's been, and it's nice to be with you in the studio.
Good to be here. And how has it been being home, back home?
You know, it's excellent. Nigeria is home, and you know, it offers its comfort, it offers its challenges, but they're not insurmountable.
But I mean, they're not insurmountable, and yet not attractive or comfortable enough for you to come back home.
Well, you know, we can have the conversation.
I know. I have to put you in that hot spot. I mean, so you know, we here, staying back here.
It's a lot of love.
Yes, it is. All right, so this is a worrying data we have from EFCC alleging that about 70% of financial crimes actually go through the banks. And if we're talking about leakages at a time like this in the country, then this should be traced. It shouldn't just be a statement that has been made and then we gloss over it and then move to the next issue. But how do you see this happening? I mean, when you look at the financial technology and all of that.
Thank you very much, Ini. So I think it's important to start, like you said, that the representative of the EFCC chairman that divulged this information really left us with the bare and the merest minimum, right? But it is concerning to hear that. And from all we know, one way to analyze this is to think about this in the context of potential illicit financial flows. Right, the characterization of the nature of their findings involving some national context and some context internationally suggests certainly a flow of money in various forms across and within the country. And what that potentially means is that in some cases this is outright money laundering. In some cases it could potentially be tax evasion in terms of invoice mispricing. In other circumstances, it is just sheer misbehavior and fraud, right, that they have uncovered. Again, it's important to be cautious. We don't know what the specifics are, but one thing that is common is that illicit financial flows do affect the economic financial stability of any country. They undermine it. They do contribute to increase in inflation. And so some of the challenges, economic hardships we're seeing in the country that everyday Nigerians are talking about really may not be unconnected with some of these findings that EFCC has started divulging.
And you know, it's so scary because, I mean, almost everybody, we're talking of financial inclusion, almost everybody has, no matter how small, an amount of money in the bank. So you want to ask, is my money involved? Is this going to mean that I will lose some of my money? Is it those charges, you know, that sometimes you cannot explain, you just get a debit alert and you've been charged for, you know, so it becomes a worrying thing. And the bigger picture is that it paints a wrong or a scary, uncertain picture for investors whom we are trying to attract into the country.
Yeah, so I mean, a very good question, and you've put this at two levels, right? So let's look at the individual. The everyday Nigerian should certainly, right, worry if they don't know the technicalities of banking details. And so what I think is clear from the statement that was put out is that they did not say that the banks are in danger, nor did they say that the banks have been the drivers, right, of this particularly concerning. They've just been the conduit, right, and the extent to which it can be, you know, concealed and made look right means it may not be easy for banking staff that are not very well trained in unearthing those kind of issues to really see it. So I think for the average Nigerian, I don't think this reaches the threshold of the banks being in danger, right? Our banks continue to be
your
funds in the bank being in danger, indeed. To the investors, right, which is a big group. Look, I think it is not breaking news to say that we have a somewhat concerning record, right, of corruption, which I think we've discussed before. It's not unique to Nigeria, but it's also the reality that with the terrain there are measures in place to ensure that there are investments that make its way into Nigeria gets repatriated, and that it's not necessarily going to be a challenge to ensure that the proceeds of their investment, right, makes its way to wherever they want it to be. So I think, yeah, it raises the flag, but I think what the EFCC may have done, and with in addition to the regulatory efforts that the CBN is putting in place, is you see they are trying to address these shortfalls and its hydra-headed nature in the institutions, financial institutions that are concerned.
Technology should come to our aid here.
Well, people still manage technology, right? So it's often said, right, that a lot of these corruption-related activities can be addressed through technology. I agree. I actually think if well applied, it can be, but it can also be manipulated, right? To the extent that these are not AI-generated.
Even with AI, I mean, it's humans who write the programs, who feed the machine, and all of that.
Absolutely. So it comes back, right, to the people and to the thinking about the wellness of the country, the greater good of those involved. The fact that if you are tasked with that responsibility, the lens through which it should be viewed should be the good it brings to the greater number of the people, and the subjective way in which a lot of our supposedly what should be objective financial institutions are run is what has in part led to these kind of challenges, and the limitations that innovative ideas have had really lies
What
at
do
the
you
desk.
mean by limitations of innovative ideas?
So, for example, you've mentioned technology, right? The fact that you can, so let me go back to illicit financial flows, right? And you think about, invoice mispricing, right? The situation that goes around. There are audit, right? Firms, individuals that can take account of that. They can take advantage of serious level of technological facilities, software equipment, right? To track. But if it is undermined, if the goal is undermined by the persons tasked with it, there's certainly a limit to which that innovative technology deployed in the sector can achieve those goals that it ought to achieve. And so the people element, the agency of the humans involved cannot be underestimated. Their mindset, right? Growth about the goodness that this might bring for the people cannot be estimated. I am not being utopian, I should say. These ideas do not go off on a whim, but certainly we can do better.
But you know, having EFCC expose this is wonderful, but I guess the ball still comes back to EFCC and ICPC. So now that you have this number, what have you done with it? What investigation have you carried? Have we seen anybody being punished because the person was part of that 70% of illegal financial flows?
Yes.
You know, so others maybe could deter, if not everybody, at least some people. I guess the ball still comes back to the desk of EFCC.
Yeah, so you're right. Let's again, separate them. We don't know where they are with respect to this investigation, right? They might have given this information in the context of the training also that was going on to say, look, we're on to something. But we have enough evidence to say you've done investigations in the past where you found persons, right, that are culpable, but your prosecution of these cases has left a lot to be desired of your capacity to truly do what you're supposed to do. We can look back at what I would consider as the early days, 3-4 presidential tenures back, and you can think about the name of EFCC.
When EFCC used to be a terror.
Exactly,
and they used to leave the news bulletins.
That's where we need to get to, right? And so, following this, it's not enough to divulge information. They are not a Ministry of Information. The ICPC, the EFCC have to take the prosecution seriously, and of course they need the courts to support them. So these all trigger the responsibilities of various agencies of government, including the third arm of the government, the judiciary, to do its own part and do it expeditiously, right? And be punitive where necessary, rather than a slap on the wrist that might just mean, maybe we can carry on with this behavior.
And then later we can give a percentage of what we took and then we move on with our lives.
That's not where we want to be.
I think that's bargaining.
No, some will do that, but then we don't want that.
Yes, obviously. Yes. All right, Professor Olabisi Akingbe, convener of African Sovereign Debt Justice Network, and also associate professor at Sheikh School of Law in Dalhousie. It's good to have you in Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your stay.
Thank you. I'll do my best. Thank you.
All right.